Hey guys, HDvee here and welcome to a brand new video. Today we've got a ton of new information to go over. We have new Pokemon leaks, we also have new rumors regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 and other bits and bobs to take a look at as well. There's a lot of stuff to break down today. If you're excited for the video, drop a like down below, leave a comment, subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into the video. So, starting things off, we have some new leaks regarding old Pokemon moves all the way back from Generation 7. It's really interesting that this is just being posted completely out of the blue. Maybe these moves are going to be returning in Pokemon Legends EA or something. But either way, we have Riddler-Ku here kind of posting saying some scrapped moves in Generation 7. So this is like 7-8 years old by now. But the first move is this, and it causes the sleeping target to faint when used during hail. So if there's a hailstorm and there's a Pokemon that's asleep, this move basically just OHKOs it, I'm assuming. And then the second move, it substitutes the target's normal type into ghost type. If the target's already being ghost type, it will fail. I don't know if it means the actual normal typing, like a Rattata or a Raticate, or if it means that Pokemon's kind of like normal typing. So like Popplio's normal typing would be water. So I don't know which one it's referencing there, but it basically turns it into a ghost type. And if it's already a ghost type, it will fail. So yeah, it basically sends that Pokemon to the Shadow Realm. So yeah, really interesting that these moves are being posted about just so out of the blue. They may just make a return in Legends EA. I don't know why else he would just randomly post this. And again, you can choose whether to believe him or not, but this information about like old Pokemon games is usually pretty on the ball with Riddler-Ku. Like he was right about a lot of stuff with Generation 9, Generation 8, BDSP, Generation 7. So yeah, this is probably more likely to be true. Obviously, his newer stuff is a little bit shaky because he has been wrong in regarding what we're getting this year. You know, he's been saying all sorts. He said, we're getting something this year. He said, we're not getting something this year. Apparently, it's Gen 5 remakes. Apparently, it's not Gen 5 remakes. And of course, he's also now saying that, you know, Gen 10 is going to be 2026 and Legends EA is going to be late next year. So, like I say, the latest stuff that he spoke about is a little bit shaky. We'll have to wait and see what's happening with the next Pokemon Presents to kind of get a little bit more information about it all. But yeah, usually his old kind of stuff is a lot more legit. So maybe these are coming back in Legends EA. We don't know. We do have Pokestutami translating this as well, so massive shout out to her, saying scrap moves, Japanese names, translation / explanation. So the first one is Izanao. This one is a little tricky. Basically, it means an old-fashioned way of saying to invite, lure, and lead to. And then the second one is, oh, I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I'll definitely butcher it. But basically, Abeke means ghost and Goko means roleplay / play pretend. So basically, it's a ghost roleplay or, you know, playing ghost or pretending to be a ghost. So yeah, those moves, I mean, this one, I guess it's not too bad because, you know, it turns you into a ghost type, which obviously means you're immune to like fighting and normal type moves. The first one is pretty good, but it feels like there's got to be a lot of certain things that need to happen before it can even work. So yeah, it doesn't sound too good of a move, but I guess if you have like, you know, hail, you know, you got snow warning or something, and then you know, use hypnosis or something or whatever, then, you know, it makes you be able to kill the next kill the Pokemon on the next turn. But either way, that's kind of all of the latest stuff about that. We also have been posting about this. Now, some people are thinking this is like another leak about Legends EA, but I think he's just making a joke here, because obviously this is in Pokemon Quest and we have Zygarde. And so he's saying, you know, because Zygarde is coming to Pokemon Quest, he's like, oh, your Legends EA game is coming. I don't think he actually means that Zeraora and Emolga are going to be in Legends EA. I mean, they might be, we don't know. But I don't think this is actually him saying, you know, this is something to do with Legends EA. I think he's just kind of taking the piss because, you know, these Pokemon are coming to Pokemon Quest. So he's just saying, yeah, this is your Legends EA game because these Pokemon are in Pokemon Quest. Anyway, that's all that. We do also have kind of like Stealth and Soul Silverrod talking a little bit more about obviously what's happened recently in regards to Riddler-Ku and what he's spoken about. So if you're living under a rock, basically, he dropped a lot of information lately, kind of saying, you know, Generation 10 was going to be coming out early next year. No, he said Gen 10 was going to be coming out 2026 in the Generation 10. He said that Legends EA is not going to be coming out early next year. He said we're going to find out the starters this year, and also this year we're only focusing on that card game app. So that's basically what he said. Even though beforehand he has also said that we are going to be getting something this year that's going to be like emptying our wallet. So he's very much contradicting himself at the moment. We do have Stealth here saying, according to Pokemon leaker Ku, Generation 10 Pokemon games are happening in 2026 for the 30th anniversary. Pokemon Legends EA isn't coming early next year, which definitely makes it seem like it could be coming to Switch and the Switch 2. Major Pokemon games have not historically launched year one for new systems, so that makes sense to me for Generation 10. It'll be interesting to see if Legends EA stays Switch exclusive. Could you imagine new 3D Mario, new 3D Mario Kart, and Pokemon Legends year one for the Switch 2. And then Pokemon is an obvious cross-gen game. It's typically released on a console with a considerable user base and that sells quickly, rather than a system seller. I also cannot see them releasing such a big game right before the Switch 2 and not be in the holiday period. I don't know if we can say obvious, since Pokemon Company doesn't really do that. They should, but we'll see if they actually release ZA on the Switch and the Switch 2. So just kind of regarding Legends ZA potentially coming for the Switch 2, and I think if Riddler-Ku is correct about this information, I think it's very, very likely that Legends ZA will be coming out for the Switch 2, because, as I say, if Legends ZA comes out late 2025 and the Switch 2 comes out like mid 2025, why would they just release Legends ZA for the Nintendo Switch? It makes no sense. Unless, I mean, I guess it does in the sense that not everyone's gonna have a Switch 2, but it would just really deplete the sales of the Legends ZA game on the Switch, because a lot of people are just gonna buy it for the Switch 2. So, especially if it's like a much better version of it. Like, Legends ZA is gonna run a lot better on the Switch 2 than it is on the Switch. It's just, you know, that's just normal. That's just obviously common sense. So, yeah, if I have a Switch 2 and it's coming out for both the Switch 2 and the Switch, I'm obviously gonna get it for the Switch 2. So it's very, very likely it's coming out for it. Again, there should be backwards compatibility with the Switch 2 anyway, so even if it does just come out for the Switch, people are just going to play it on the Switch 2 regardless. So, yeah, that's very, very interesting. And again, in regards to all of this, you know, what he's been saying, I know that it's kind of like worrying a lot of people, him saying, you know, something is happening this year, something's not happening this year. In regards to what he said about, like, emptying your wallet and stuff, I think that's, in my opinion, I think it's just going to be ports. I think that's all it's going to be now, because, you know, he's just said focus on the Pocket game this year, but at the same time he also said there's something happening this year. So I don't know if he's forgetting what he's posted or what. I don't know what's going on with him, but yeah, he's very much saying loads of different things. So yeah, I think now if it is all turning out to be true what he's saying, I think it's more likely we're going to get ports than an actual game this year, but we'll have to wait and see. And then we also have Soul Silver Art kind of talking about this as well, saying the only thing about now that this now is tons of people that don't follow what happened in the background will all start saying that we won and Game Freak listened. It took an extra year to develop Generation 10, and this is in regards to if it comes out in 2026. But that's just not true. They always had this plan outside of the Scarlet and Violet backlash, so they were always going to take like an extra year to produce another game. They just didn't know if it was going to be Generation 9 or Generation 10. They have given themselves extra time for Generation 10, but it had more to do with the 30th anniversary and not as much with Generation 9. They didn't give themselves more time in 2024 either. This year was always a gap/dev time year in the 3-year Game Freak dev cycle. Pokemon Legends ZA will be 3 years after Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it will 99% be made by Game Freak's Team B, same team that made Pokemon Legends Arceus. And again, if you're not familiar with how Game Freak work, they have a Team A and a Team B. Team B works on like Legends stuff, and then the Team A will work on like Generation 10 and Generation 9. If anything has to come out other than Pokemon Legends ZA in 2024 to 2026, it will be from an outsourced developer, which has very little to do with Game Freak's dev times. I've said these things before, but I'm just going to keep going until more people understand. And as always, things can change and end up proving me wrong, but this is as far as I understand it. And again, in regards to what Riddler-Ku's saying here about, you know, nothing's coming out this year, he could just be meaning from Game Freak. You know, he could just be saying only focus on the card game out from Game Freak this year. Because if a game does come out this year, it is going to be an outsourced game from Game Freak, or like someone like Ilka is going to be working on how Pokemon works. Like maybe that's what he could be referring to. Like he's very vague in posts and stuff sometimes. Obviously he's like come out and said, you know, Gen 10 30th anniversary here, this ain't coming out early next year. Like he could just be referencing from Game Freak themselves, you know, we're not going to be getting anything, it's just going to be the card game app. So again, I'm just kind of thinking of different possibilities of what he could mean. He could also be wrong as well. That's also very, very plausible. But either way, that's kind of like all the latest information in regards to that, and also the new leaks that he's kind of posted about as well. Moving on, we also have some new Nintendo Switch 2 information to go over, and some Switch stuff to go over as well. So we have Go Nintendo tweet here posting saying Switch becomes the most successful platform for mainline Pokemon game sales. So I think this franchise might take off. So this is how it kind of like looks with the Game Boy Advance, the GBA, the DS, the 3DS, and the Nintendo Switch. So as you can see, the Nintendo Switch has absolutely smashed it out the park in regards to sales of Pokemon games. And that's not even like, that's quite mad as well, because there's not even like a ton of Pokemon games for the Nintendo Switch. Like we have Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Sword and Shield, BDSP, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet. And I think that's it. Obviously we have like Pokken as well. But for like the DS, we got multiple generations on that with multiple spin-offs and remakes and stuff like that. And I know that we've obviously had that for the Switch as well, like Pokemon Snap and stuff, but DS had so many, and that sold like 30,000, like 30 less than the Nintendo Switch. So the Pokemon franchise may be a bit bruised following the backlash to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's technical missteps, but that hasn't hurt the game's sales by any means. If anything, the Pokemon franchise is bigger than ever, and that growth is never more clear than it's been on the Switch. Thanks to some number brunching by Pierre485, we now know that as far as mainline games go, okay, so this isn't even referring to spin-offs and stuff, the Switch has seen more Pokemon titles sold than any other platform. The previous record holder was the Game Boy line at 75 million units sold, but the Switch has absolutely crushed that stat, hitting 96 million. That 96 million stat shows just how huge both Switch and Pokemon are, and the data isn't going to stop there. Pokemon Legends EA is heading to the Switch in 2025, and there's no doubt it'll rack up at least 10 plus million sales. Without a doubt, it's going to be incredibly hard for any other Nintendo system to beat the Pokemon sales the Switch has fostered. So, yeah, I mean, obviously for the Nintendo Switch 2, we're probably going to have Legends EA, Generation 10, stuff like that. But, yeah, the Switch is absolutely smashed out of the park. Like, it's crazy the numbers that it's doing. And people are saying, like, oh, yeah, boycott Pokemon and stuff like that because, obviously, of how bad Scarlet and Violet ran and stuff. But I don't think anybody's boycotting it anytime soon. I think it's doing absolutely fine for itself. And this is also quite positive just because if they're making more money, you'd like to think they'd invest it into the games. You'd hope that they would do that. They probably won't, but there's always the chance. There's always the chance they might do that. And again, because they are taking such a big gap now between the games, like even if we get an outsourced game this year, whether it is Black and White remakes or not, Game Freak themselves haven't made a game since 2022, which was Scarlet and Violet. And the next game they make will be Legends EA, which will be 2025. So we won't have a mainline game for 3 years. And they've also been working on Legends EA before Scarlet and Violet even came out as well. So they've probably been working on Legends EA for a solid like 4 years at least. Probably even 5. So you'd expect big things from this game, especially with Generation 10 as well. You'd expect the same thing. Like Team A have probably been working on Generation 10 for a very long time as well. So I'm expecting big things. I'd be very, very disappointed and very upset if they had like the same level of like bugs and stuff that Scarlet and Violet had, because they've had a lot more time to work on it. And I think it'd just be very, very unfortunate if that was the case, if like Legends EA suffered from what Scarlet and Violet suffered from. But I'm hoping that isn't going to be the situation. Again, it won't run as well as it will on the Switch 2 if it is coming for both consoles, but you'd like to think that it'll still run okay. Like Legends EA ran flawlessly. There wasn't really any massive issues with Legends EA. Generation 9 just really wasn't good in terms of like bugs and stuff like that. But anyway, that's that. Moving on, we also have some more rumors regarding backwards compatibility with the Nintendo Switch 2. So we have My Nintendo News here tweeting out saying, rumor, the Switch 2 will have backwards compatibility both physically and digitally. So again, there's been loads of rumors relating to the Switch 2 backwards compatibility. It's looking more likely than ever that we are going to be getting it. And this is just more kind of sources coming out of the dark, kind of saying, yes, this new console is going to be getting backwards compatibility. So Switch 2 will have backwards compatibility with both physically and digitally. So Nintendo has confirmed that the next console will be announced this fiscal year. However, Nintendo is still being very silent on what exactly the new hardware will be. Until then, the rumor mill is going to continue to churn, so it shouldn't be surprising that there's a new Switch 2 rumor that has surfaced earlier today. So obviously this was posted on the 8th of May, so a while ago now, but, we haven't covered it yet. Nintendo insider TVPH, whom you may remember as the one that initially reported the news of the new hardware being internally delayed to 2025, so they're obviously correct about that because it looks like it has been delayed till 2025, is now relaying information in regards to the Switch 2's backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch games, which has been rumored to be a thing in Nintendo's next generation console. According to TVPH, the backwards compatibility isn't going to be limited to just physically released games. For those that have brought games digitally, the next console will apparently have backwards compatibility with that too. If so, then Switch owners will be able to bring their entire Nintendo Switch game library over to the next console, which seems more likely than ever anyway. We know that they're going to be carrying on with Nintendo accounts and stuff like that, so I'd be very surprised if they didn't have backwards compatibility. It's also very, very heavily rumored that it's going to have like two kind of Switch, what do you call it, like kind of cartridge slots, just like the 3D, just like the DS had with like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games and the Nintendo DS games. So one for the Switch and one for the Switch 2. So yeah, that will also be for like physical backwards compatibility, but then for digital, yeah, it looks like it's just going to be the same for like Nintendo accounts. You just bring it over your login, and then you're just going to have your game library and stuff like that. You can download it all. So yeah, really, really looking forward to hopefully having backwards compatibility for this. And again, like I say, if Legends EA comes out for the Switch, you're just going to play on the Switch 2 if the Switch 2 is already out by the time Legends ZA comes out. That's what I mean. Like, it'd just be silly not to if you have the Switch 2. So either way, that's going to be everything for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider leaving a like down below. Let's try and hit 500 likes. Obviously, leave a comment as well. What are your thoughts on everything that we've covered today? What are your thoughts on the new leaked moves? Do you think they're going to be making a return in Pokemon Legends ZA? I just don't know why he's randomly posted them now. It's just so out of the blue for Generation 7. Like, these leaks are obviously like 7 to 8 years old. So why post them now? Just doesn't really make any sense. And then also, let me know your thoughts on everything else that we covered as well in regards to, like I say, all the Generation 10 stuff, early next year stuff. Not early next year stuff for Legends ZA. And also, all the Nintendo Switch 2 stuff as well. Do you think the next console is going to have backwards compatibility? Or do you think this is just all a big old rumor and it's not going to turn out to be true? But again, it's very likely it's going to have it, but we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're brand new. Ring the notification bell for daily Pokemon content. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, peace.